So as someone that's always at the rallies and
Could you state your address?
I'm
Could you
sorry.
state your address, please?
I live in New Cumberland at 210 Ramsey Place.
Well,
I come to speak about this because I organize a lot of the rallies downtown.
just a minute, Mr. County, I'll let it be your call, but I don't, she does not live in the city residence.
I'm allowed just.
Okay, this is okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the reason why I came to speak is because one of I organized and co-organized a lot of the rallies in which some of the members of city council have come to speak at, and we don't call them protests because they are rallies in which children are permitted to come and often are there. This equipment that the police, they stated clearly that they want to, they need it in light of the increase in protests, what they call. Some of the, I speak truth and I don't have any other speech but that. So I'll tell you that some of the stories that the officers were speaking about earlier are not completely true at all. They were exaggerations, and in fact the Nazis that came, the white supremacists, were the ones that sent the message to a group saying, yeah, you better bring your street medics. And then the officers were more concerned about the armed right-wingers on the steps. They were more concerned for their safety than ours. So when they asked for things to protect them, we should remember that their job is to protect us, not for them to be cozy in their job. They signed up for this. My daughter's gonna be a police officer. So I know that it's a job that, you know, I don't agree with, but some people have to do it, I guess. And I wouldn't want anything to happen to her, but I'm gonna tell you that when someone signs up to be a police officer, their job is to protect, to serve the public, not to terrorize poor people that are standing up to a terroristic right-wing regime. And that's all we're doing. They weren't there. The police did not protect a member of the LGBT community when she was, or they were attacked by a right-wing person. So who are they protecting and who are they serving? That's what I asked them.
Thank you.
Before you go, just so I want to make a point of clarification too, because it's something that I've really tried to dig into as well. So there's 3 law enforcement agencies that deal with things in and around the Capitol. You've got our Harrisburg City Police, you've got the Capitol Police, and you have the Pennsylvania State Police. When I talked with the chief a few weeks ago about this particular discussion, we have no jurisdiction over what happens on the Capitol steps where it comes to us. And I understand there's been a lot of questions and issues that come up. That is under the Capitol Police jurisdiction. I also have concerns about the activity that go on the steps. Whereas we have the ability to effectuate and work with here is our own law enforcement, which has to protect from the streets on. So I just want to make that point of clarification because I think it's important to note where there is different chains of authority over what goes on there.
Okay, so then to that, I'd like to say that I actually helped organize a vigil for the Native Americans at Standing Rock, and we had about 35 people come. And just for future reference, when we do march, we take the usual route. No businesses get vandalized. There's no trash in the streets. Everyone cleans up after themselves. These are people that are extreme leftists, that are concerned about the environment and actually care about the city and the people that are here. And when we had 35 people in front of the Capitol, 3 police departments came with about 15 to 20 cars and were extremely aggressive to us. And all we were doing was holding signs for the Native Americans to have clean water to drink. So there we're going to fall under what they call environmental terrorists, where the police are armed in riot gear to come to something where we're trying to stand up and speak out for other citizens of the country that we care about, because if this was in our backyard, we would appreciate people around the country to also care for our kids and what they're drinking too. So.
Thank you.
James D'Angelo, 1100 New Verdon Drive, apartment A1, Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. One of the things that was brought up by the chief was that the purpose of this gear is to de-escalate the situation. However, a 2014 University of California, Berkeley report studied police tactics and use of riot gear during the Occupy movement. And according to that, it found that protests tend to turn violent when officers use aggressive tactics, such as approaching demonstrators in riot gear or lining up in military-like formations. It sounds to me like this equipment is only going to make volatile situations worse instead of making it better. And then there is also the fact that, much as the previous speaker has said, I too have also observed the police seeming to be more concerned about protecting groups like the Oath Keepers, neo-Nazis, and Trump supporters than in protecting the citizens of Harrisburg and its surrounding communities and other people of color and other affected groups. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Damn straight, James.
Thank you.
My name is Amanda Arbor. I live at 1527 Dairy Street. Regarding the concerns of militarization of police that were brought up earlier, studies including those from the ACLU show that simply possessing more militarized gear necessitates the use of it or causes the use of it in situations that do not require that type of escalation, thus escalating situations further with the community. So that is one concern that I have. Also, even if this type of gear is only used at protests, as the police chief stated, what we have seen is that it's not the police that are getting hurt at these types of rallies or protests. It's people who they are supposed to be protecting. And so that's really the concern many in the community have, and that's the core issue that needs to be addressed. There hasn't been any evidence of a need for this equipment based on any injuries that the police have sustained. Their argument has simply been that their equipment is out of date. Also, the fact that the city has this money available, I think, is a huge opportunity. So I would urge City Council to really talk with members of the community to see what are some of the proposals that would actually make our community members feel safer, and it would actually help to decrease the divide and fear and mistrust of the police. And I think this Upstate Harrisburg and other groups in the community have been pushing for training. Mental health training was mentioned, but also de-escalation training, implicit bias training. There are proposals I think you all are aware of that have been in existence for several years. So I would really urge you to explore how this funds that are available can be used to advance initiatives that the community has been pushing for, and that would really help to bridge divides between police and community rather than continuing to increase the fear and distrust and build walls. Thank you.
So I'm Hillary Henson. I live at 1404 North 6th Street. Let me start by saying that $65,000 divided by 40 is $1,625 per suit. The HWI Gear Elite Defender full suit set is $472, and LAPoliceGear.com is a SWAT uniform. It's $18,888 for 40 suits. And I bet I could get a discount if I bought in bulk. Full suit Damascus FX1 Flex Force modular hard shell crowd control system with gear bag. $481.99. That's on sale for $612. It's a significant savings. If our police force is determined to buy riot gear that they don't need and we don't want them to have, they should at least be required to shop around. There's also worry that having spent $65,000 in riot gear, the goal would be to find excuses to use it to justify the expense, even when the safety of the officers is threatened. The effect of a police officer in a regular uniform and the effect of a police officer in full riot gear approaching you feels very different. It heightens citizens' anxiety and places in the officer's mind the assumption that he is under threat at all times. Because after all, if he wasn't in danger, they wouldn't have given him riot gear, right? And if there's no fire, then why are all these firefighters wearing all this protective gear? This combination of anxiety and perceived danger can have real and deadly consequences. Maria Haberfield, professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, said military equipment is used against an enemy. So if you give the same equipment to local police, by default you create an environment in which the public is perceived as an enemy. On the other side of these confrontations, this could have a negative effect on protesters. We live in a democratic country, and we believe this is our right to go out and exercise the right to free speech. And when you go out there and exercise that right, and suddenly you're faced with soldiers, even though these are not soldiers, but police officers looking like soldiers, then something is triggered, definitely. And I might add, protests that I've been to recently, and images of a recent protest where a woman allegedly used a stick with nails to assault a police officer's horse, later reported by Penn Live as a flagpole with a nail attached to it, and no information on whether the nail protruded from the stick or not, have police officers not wearing that riot gear, what riot gear is currently available. All visible in the video were in regular uniforms, demonstrating that police are not using what is currently at their disposal, but still asking for new equipment. I'll note that police managed to arrest the protester without apparent injury.
My name is Alex Domingos, 1726 North 2nd Street. I would just like to connect this issue to more issues that I've seen over the last year or so attending city council meetings. So since I've been here, Harrisburg Police has used drones on citizens of Harrisburg without notifying city council. I'd just like to know if Harrisburg Police is still getting drones, still using them, and if there's a policy around that. Expenditures were made for body cameras, and last I heard there was no policy in place for that. I would like to know if city council is going to create a policy, or if they are going to rely on the body camera company to create the policy, as was said in the meeting where the money got allocated. Also, Harrisburg Police got expenditures for tasers. Every time those are used, according to general orders, a use of force report is supposed to be generated. Are those going to be available to the public without filing a right to know request? And also, mental health expenditures were mentioned earlier. I would like to hear more details on that. How many officers have taken this training? How many officers currently in Harrisburg Police have taken any type of mental health training? How many hours has that been? Whereas we're talking about this right here now, there's a whole continuum of expenditures being made to increase militarization and surveillance capabilities by the police. And as far as I know, there's not really any policies to make that information available to the public or to protect the citizens of the city from state-sanctioned violence. So I would like to know some more information around that. What are the policies undergirding these expenditures, and how are the public going to be aware of all these policies and the information around these expenditures?
Tricia Stringer, 2134 Kensington Street, former member of Harrisburg City Council. I would just like to say that I have just recently completed 12 weeks of training with the Swan Township Citizens Police Academy. They had wonderful riot gear all over the place, never used. It was sitting out in the hall because they've outgrown the space where they need to maintain it and everything. So if they would get equipment, it needs to be protected, and so it doesn't get dry rot and everything. And so I would be concerned if they have a place to use it, if they need it. But like, I've been in the city for about 40 years and I've never seen the need. I worked on the Capitol in the governor's office for 22 years, and I've seen everybody from Jerry Falwell to the AFSCME people to everybody coming there and everything. And I know things have changed since then. But I don't know that we need to be spending that money at this very time, because like people have said before, this might increase the people wanting to get involved in everything, and I don't see it as a real problem. So just like Amanda Arbor said here a little earlier, let's talk to the people a little bit more and see what they think. Thank you very much.
Additional comments, Mayor?
Pamela Parson, 705 North 16th Street. I would like to remind you that police officers are trained to eliminate the threat. And with their weapons, they are taught to eliminate the threat, which means kill somebody. They are not taught to wound, just in case anyone thought that was the case. There are a number of people sitting here in this group who've been working for more than 2 years now to try to bring more transparency to the city police force. And most of that has been met by a wall with little consideration about what has been offered here. And it just seems to me that this request for riot gear, which makes an individual police officer even less transparent in seeing who the person is. This is just one more step in making sure that our community has no access to what happens with police-community relationships. And I understand that this request was made before, a couple of years ago, and there was a request made for a grant, and the grant for this was turned down. I'm just really curious, what was the reasoning behind the grant not being funded? And unfortunately, our officers are not here. The chief is not here to answer my question, but I'm really curious about the 2 times in the past 20 years that they needed riot gear and the 7 times this year. Because I've lived in this city since 1981, and the only times that I'm thinking of where things got really scary was November and May. And that's because the people who had permits showed up with guns. And in fact, in May, they were open carrying their guns. And that made me afraid. And I didn't feel that police were protecting me, the taxpayer who lives in this city, but in fact, the people who did not live here and who came with their own guns. Thank you.
Anyone else from the right?
Angela Kirkland, I live on 933 North 2nd Street. I've organized and I've attended a vast majority of the rallies that have taken place here over the last few years. And I was also at the inauguration in DC. And let me tell you that Harrisburg in no way can compare ever to what I saw in DC. In DC, maybe the Metro Police, can justify a request for riot gear. I was there when they smashed out the windows of the Starbucks and the Bank of America. I haven't seen anything like that here. I don't see any need for updated riot gear here in Harrisburg. Do you want to know? And also another reason why, the Women's March, the Sister Women's March that took place here in, January? Had over 1,000 people, like 1,100 people. And all of them, all the way up from the riverfront, marching around down Front Street, up to the Capitol, every last one of them was marching on the sidewalk. 1,100 people were so scared and so intimidated by a handful of police officers that they marched on the sidewalk, all the way to the Capitol. When everybody else in cities all over the world were taking to the streets. Was that number of people or less? When you have that level of intimidation going, you don't need additional riot gear. You just don't. My name is Samantha Mayer. I live at 2510 North 2nd Street, and I would just like to reiterate what other people have said about this feeling of being a citizen of the city and exercising one's right to protest and to have one's voice heard and feel that you are being criminalized for doing that, because that is how it feels when police face you wearing, even their normal uniforms, but on horseback, having additional riot gear would, I believe, continue to escalate these tensions and these feelings of criminality that tax-paying citizens feel when they are, in fact, exercising their right to protest. As the police chief said, it is everyone's right to protest. This is how our country was founded, and I don't feel that having additional riot gear by the police department would protect me, would protect the citizens of Harrisburg. I believe maybe it would protect the police, they would feel more protected, but I think that they would feel more protected criminalizing protesters, and that's a really scary thought. to have a militarized police force in the Capitol. Yes, I believe that we will see more protests here in the Capitol. I think that's just part of the course with what is happening in the nation as a whole. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that we should be welcoming of protesters to the city. I don't think that we should make them feel criminalized for coming here. I think that meeting protesters with riot gear, with full face masks, as Pam said before, with less transparency over who is policing us, I think that will escalate tensions more than not having a riot gear would. And I think that what the riot gear is helping to protect is police from criminalizing protesters. And I think that we really have to watch out for letting that happen in our community, because we want to maintain a safe area where people can have their voice heard. So, thank you.
My name is Kim Thomas, 2330 Grand Street. I don't think that riot gear, we shouldn't have it. Honestly. We have so much going on in our community that we need help in. Not only with police riot gear, we have education, mental health. Just there's so much going on in our community, and I don't think everyone's looking at that. This riot gear is just gonna put fear in everyone, even more than they have fear. Because most people are scared of the cops. We don't have no community balance with them. They don't come out, they still basically treat us the same. I just had an incident not too long ago, one of my children with a police officer. So therefore, I think they need more training, not only in mental health, but in themselves. And they are, how you say that, I'm so nervous right now, military-wise, because when they come to kill. And I know that for sure, because my son got killed in front of me. And if they would have had that riot gear, would my son still be here? No, he wouldn't be here, because the cop was out the window. So therefore, what would he need that for if he didn't even come in to protect so-called me when my son didn't have a knife on my neck? So therefore, I don't even think that should be on the plate. It should be more things on the plate, even with the mayor. Things should be more on the plate. He should come out a little more to see what's going on in the community, to see if we need this right here that they're looking at. You know, come to our community. I never see him walk down my block. I live on Green Street. You know, come in our city. Come to the Hill. Come to Allison Hill. Come uptown. Come to the South Side. See what it's all about. Join the community, and maybe you'll get more respect. You know, so as to say that, we all need to unite together and really think about what we're doing before we spend a lot of money on something that we don't need.
To all honorable members of the City Council. My name is Carl Jr. Rashid, 2400 block of North 7th Street. There's over 260,000 people, I think, in the city of Harrisburg, and a lot of them don't even come from here. They migrated. And we have too many illegal guns out here. And early this morning, between, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, on 4th Street, between Woodbine and McClay, I was 30 feet away from a guy who pulled out a pistol and shot at 4 people. I talked to the police, I put things in email, sent to the mayor's office, and all that there. The bottom line for me is, get the riot gear.
Somebody paid him. Who paid him?
I'll be quick. A lot of people here have said a lot of what I believe.
That's a ball,
Sorry,
by the
my name
way.
is Brandon Mason. I live on 3022 North 3rd Street. And a lot of people here said a lot of things that I believe far more eloquently than I could. I wanted to point out what I believe is a misleading statement by the police. The mention that there was threats of violence because there were mentions of medics. One, as Catherine pointed out, was mentioned by the other side. But two, I've been to the Women's March in DC where there were no arrests. There was no major acts of violence, no rioting. There were medics. There were people down there to make sure that in a massive group of people with possibility of accidents, possibility of things that people were taken care of. I also volunteer with the Red Cross and, for example, set up to support the papal visit. There were not massive riots, there was not violence against the police, but we had incredible numbers of medics, mental health professionals, family reconciliation units, and things to that effect. These were not threats of violence. We did not bring out our medics so that we could attack the police while the Pope was visiting, or during the Women's March, we did not bring out medics because blood would be spilled and it was going to turn to the Wild West. It's just responsible when you have a large group of people. You have things like, water, that you have people who can treat people medically, people who can help lost children if it's an event where there are children. I just couldn't let that stand. The idea that doctors and responsible people were around were somehow threats to the police safety.
Anything else to the right? We'll get to the middle there.
Hi, Guy Dubois, 2801 North 2nd Street. I just wanted to bring up the fact that when we saw the year out there on the table that the gear that they're looking to replace already has a full-length plexiglass shield and full face mask and sturdy-looking helmet, so I don't really see the necessity of having an umpire's chest piece or shin guards behind a full body riot shield already. I think that the new equipment is different from the old, only in that it looks more threatening, and that appearance is meant to deter people from exercising the First Amendment right. I know I have a young child, and I would feel uncomfortable bringing my child to exercise my rights if the police were so armored, and they are already armed also, which is enough deterrence, I think, for people can be violent. With that said, I would like to see this amendment, vote on this amendment postponed until we can get community groups to put forward alternative proposals for the $65,000 and proposals that would help the police department interface with the public in a positive way, successful tracking way.
Evening, Council. My name is Randall Hayes. I live at 127 Harris Street in Harrisburg. I think the opinion is very clear, and there's really no need to rehash all these points. I would just like to stress that we do have several police forces here in the city. The majority of the protests are happening at the Capitol, which would be under the jurisdiction of the Capitol Police. There's been some action at the Senator's office of the federal building. They have their own police force, the U.S. Marshals, federal authorities. And so I'm not sure that we need to be spending this money on our own police force for these reasons. I would also point out that the trend towards militarization and crackdowns on protesters is prevalent across the nation in other cities. And I think this is a turning point or an opportunity for our city to put that trend in check and perhaps do the right thing, looking in hindsight when we look back on this time in our nation's history.
Hello, my name is Nick Gutierrez. I live at 270 Cumberland Street. As a sort of background, I grew up in Northwest Philadelphia and attended college in North Philadelphia, Temple University, so I've seen protest rallies in much larger numbers with much less aggressive police force. Just for a bit of statistics, in Harrisburg, a total of 7 police officers have been killed in the line of duty since 1907. That's 1 officer for every 15 years. That's not to undermine their job. It's a very difficult job, I understand that, but that is very small numbers. Specifically to crime statistics, Mayor Pappenfuss has cited short-term and long-term declines, 21 homicides in 2013 compared to 16 in 2016. Robberies and crime in general about 18% from last year. Specifically, a event happened this past winter where I saw my friend being arrested for public intoxication. Fine, that's okay, that's the law, you're arrested. However, it took 4 officers grabbing him from every limb, and this person is much smaller than I am, and I'm not a large guy. And they pushed him to the ground and were very aggressive and felt the need to handcuff his arms and legs. And so I do think that crime is more of a state of mind in our city rather than an actual problem, and that the police right here would in fact enforce this state of mind. Thank you.
Anybody else to the right? I'm gonna move to the side.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry, not you.
That's fine.
Tucked away.
Hi, my name is Danny Martin. I live at 1432 North 4th Street. I'm just going to ask a quick question. Sure. Is this a one-time $65,000 or is this like a yearly?
Yes, it's a one-time.
It's just one.
It was a one-time request for a budget reallocation.
Okay. So I had a couple things I want to run through quick. Something that hasn't been brought up that is related. In 1999, there was a G20 summit in Seattle. Mass protests, violence, property destruction. They sent in a militarized police force that gassed everybody. 3 years ago, the chief of police from Seattle at that time said that making that decision to send in the militarized police force to gas was the biggest regret of his 35-year career in the police. Because he thought they could have de-escalated the situation. And by doing that, they instead made it much worse. Right here does escalate a situation. I know from being in protest, just seeing police officers with their big cans of gas ready and running out of like 50 zip ties for a group of people just saying. That makes people afraid, and people are afraid they act in a different way than if they feel comfortable. And that will escalate. And I'm glad to hear that the police are interested in mental health de-escalation. Talked about this last time. I think something that would be useful. Let's create a position of an unarmed officer that can get to know people who use our crisis emergency systems. And when someone's in crisis, let's send that person out who has those relationships. They have some backup maybe somewhere out of the way, but someone who can respond to a mental health crisis to people they know and feel secure with, and they do not have any sort of weaponry that will escalate that situation. I think we can take further steps even and just mental health de-escalation training. Let's create a position that does that. That can do it well and to keep people safe. The people in crisis safe. Right? Thank you.
Do we get everybody on the right? All right. Can I go?
I'm Zach Beaver. I actually live in Cumberland. Already tried.
Go ahead.
But, so I had a couple things I wanted to say. First is to the point that police representatives need about weapons and violence being brought by the protesters. I think a few people have mentioned that the people bringing violence were white supremacists, neo-Nazis, fascists, people of that political need. And I think it's fair to say generally those people are not here to exact violence on the police, but are here to